Okay, we're gonna be there. What's going on? They're having to fight each other. This has been going on forever and ever. How's he hurting her? He made some red marks on Mom. When did he make the red marks on? Yes. What's the matter? Is your mom? Hello?
Hello everybody, I'm Officer Bino with the Austin Police Department, and thank you guys for coming out. You have all been identified as stakeholders in your community, and the purpose of me being here today and talking to you guys is I want to increase the awareness of domestic violence. I also want to find a solution. Within the last quarter, our domestic violence in Central East Austin increased 40%, and we don't know how to solve it. We don't have a solution. We're doing absolutely nothing to combat it. So, with that being said, I'm asking you guys to look at one another, and if you know somebody who's struggling or going through this, be that support. If I can have Sarah, raise your hand. If I have Carrie, raise your hand. And Eric, raise your hand. So 1 out of 4 females and 1 out of 7 males above the age of 18 have reported being in a very aggressive, violent, domestic incident with their spouse or significant other. So it happens all around us. What is domestic violence? It's a pattern of abuse that a partner inflicts on another over control, emotions. It comes in many different forms. Now, domestic violence doesn't discriminate. Anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender can be a victim or perpetrator of domestic violence. It affects people of all socioeconomics, backgrounds, and education levels. So, I know we've all seen movies or we've heard stories or celebrities, and we always have that thought of, well, why don't they just get up and leave? Why do they put up with this? And if you haven't experienced domestic violence yourself, that would normally be your question. And you'd struggle to understand why they stay there. But being in a domestic relationship with abuse, it's a lot harder to get up and go. And the most vulnerable and dangerous time is when that partner, that victim, decides to get up and go. Because of the abuser, they can retaliate. And most times, it's a serious, violent abuse when that happens. So, I'm just going to put a few common reasons as to why people decide to stay in relationships. One being fear, just the fear of not knowing what's going to happen if they leave. And then 2 is believing that the abuse is normal. Maybe they grew up in that household where they had an abusive parent, or the sibling, or it's just all around them. It's a common trend. It's normal. Or the fear of being outed. If someone is in a LGBTQ relationship and has not yet come out, the abuser may threaten them that if they leave, they're going to tell their family members, embarrass them. Which leads to the next one, embarrassment or shame. It's often difficult to someone to admit that they've been abused. They may also feel that their friends and family would judge them for being in that relationship. Low self-esteem, love. Now, love is strong. And most times, when a victim falls in love, it's not an abusive partner. They change. Or other times, they stay in that relationship for the love of their children. And then cultural and religious reasons. Language barrier, immigration status. It's difficult to make an outcry or to say something or seek help if English isn't your first language. Lack of money and resources. A lot of times, the abuser controls the financial assets in the family. Whether the spouse doesn't work and they have children that they feed, so they stay in the household for that very own reason. The sole breadwinner is usually the perpetrator. And then disability. Sometimes in these relationships, there's somebody with a disability, whether they're wheelchair bound or something, and their partner abuses them. So they feel like they can't go anywhere. They won't find somebody else that will take them in. And it's important for you guys to understand how can we detect somebody that's going through this. There's a few clues. If you're in a social gathering and the partner puts them publicly, that's one clue. And if they express that they're upset to make their partner mad, I can't do that because Johnny will get mad. Or that the partner is extremely jealous, possessive. Unexplained marks and injuries. And has stopped spending time with you and your family. Another good way, if you're a manager, is to see how they use their sick time. If they stop being productive. If they were all bubbly, exciting in the beginning, and then all of a sudden their performance has dropped. Ask why. Look for the clues. And then last, how can we help? We can be a strong pillar. We can be supportive and help them make these decisions. Be non-judgmental. If they end the relationship, if they stop being with this abusive partner, still be supportive. Continue that support for them. And then help them develop a safety plan. And then the last thing is to remember that you can't rescue them. Only they can make the decision to leave. And I have some resources available. We have a great nonprofit organization here in Austin called SAFE. And I have the number here where they will help you develop a strategy and an exit plan, because you just can't pick up and go from one day to the other. You kind of develop a plan on how to leave. And then in regards to the Austin Police Department, we have a domestic violence unit made up of dozens of detectives. And then we have a special team that is called the Crash Team. There are 5 officers that go out and hunt for these violent offenders or these offenders who have threatened serious bodily injury or death. And they monitor them. And lastly, we have a victim service team. It's a non-sworn civilian position where we have individuals that will follow up for detectives and help and guide you to finding that help. So with that being said, help me, help each other so that we can stop family violence, and together we can report it and we can offer help. Is there anybody with any questions, concerns? No?
No, you're great.
Thank you.